Text him! You hear it?
Hear what?
The fan! And you're like, yeah, sweet. No, can you hear it? You go, uh-huh. And I was like, oh my god.
I had no idea what you said, I just agreed.
You look really tan. No, because you are
Because
tan.
I'm black. Can you do the worm?
Ready?
Don't ever do that again, please. What's up everybody, it's Cama and I am with
Christie Swadling.
And today what we're going to be speaking about is eating disorders. I'm going to be interviewing Christy because she's going through this experience of having an eating disorder. So maybe right now you're experiencing bulimia or anorexia or anything. So this is really going to help you put things into perspective for yourself and really overcome this challenge that you're going through right now. So
why do you say experiencing and not suffering? I like that.
I say experiencing. Well, I'll touch on that.
Okay.
But before we go into that, for those people who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about what you went through and how you got to where you are right now.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Christy and I have a YouTube channel and I have an Instagram account, and I also run my own self-healing program. I'm recovered from anorexia nervosa and I have only recently recovered, probably only about a year, and I suffered for around 5 to 6 years and it completely ruined my teenage life. And I have gained in the past year not only size, but I have gained so much self-love. I've gained so much knowledge and just self-awareness, and overall I have just completely changed my outlook on my whole entire life. And I do owe it to my past, but it's also made me so much more aware of what an eating disorder is and how mentally it can really mess with someone, how mentally it can get with someone. And the thing is, with eating disorders and anorexia, people do think it is a physical thing. And the thing with that is that's completely wrong, because someone who could look completely healthy physically, they could be suffering so much more mentally than someone who is thinner than them or looks worse. Because it's all a mental thing. It's the same thing as depression, it's the same thing as anxiety. All it is your brain, your mind unease, so hence dis-ease. And I feel as though it's completely overlooked and it's not really known to be more of a mental thing, and a lot of people just think of it as something that girls try to do for attention, and that is completely incorrect. So yeah, just basically what I'm trying to do with my platform is make girls aware of what eating disorders are, and aware how important nourishing yourself is, how important self-love is. And I just have a few social media platforms where I do that and just basically spread my word in how important health is for not only your physical state but for your mental state also.
Yeah, and so I've known you for about 1.5 years now, and you've gone through, I remember when I first saw you, where you are now to where you were 1.5 years ago, I've seen you make some massive progress. So we're going to be talking about that, and I like how you say that it isn't just a physical thing. Actually, so this isn't we made a interview in the past, and when I put you as a thumbnail, it was like the before and after photo. Some people one person got really mad. I don't know if you saw the comment. Yeah,
I think I did. It was something to do with I don't know how I would, it was my after photo, hey?
Yeah, it was it's a mental thing. So yes. And what I'd like to first touch on is, I believe, was there ever a time where you were like, okay, I don't even know if I can get through this anymore, maybe this is just how I am, I just feel like I'm stuck? And do you feel like you ever felt stuck, and how did you get out of that, if you did feel like that?
Well, with anorexia, there's two sides of it. There's a side where you don't actually want to get better, and there's a side where you try to get better. And the thing, when you don't want to get better, you won't get better. If you do not want to get better, you will not get better. And I feel as though for about 1 year I was like that, because I was so stuck within my illness. I was so stuck within my ways, and I was so deep down this hole that I wasn't actually aware of what normal was like. I wasn't aware of what health was like. And when I hit a point where I did almost die, that's when I realized what I was doing was completely wrong. And when I did start to get better, it's kind of like there is a side of you that doesn't completely want to get better, and that is purely just, I relate that to your ego. And your ego does not want you to get better, because your ego thrives off your sadness. Your ego thrives off you suffering. And if you are completely free within your mind, your ego is not there. And your ego does not want that. So it's kind of like there's a side of you that doesn't want you to get better, and there is a side that obviously wants freedom, that wants you to eat again, that wants you to nourish your body, that wants self-love. And through my whole recovery, it's like I never actually seen myself recovered until I focused on right now. I had to focus on right now and the actions I was doing right now. And yes, recovery did seem so far away. It always seemed so far, and I would never actually think that I would get to the mindset I was at today. And it did. It's a gradual process, and I started to get better when I started to actually focus on my present thoughts. I started to focus on what's happening right now, the feelings I'm thinking, the thoughts that I'm creating, and I started to be more conscious with what I was thinking and how it made me felt. I would go to so many counselors, I'd go to so many like clinics and stuff, and they'd always tell me, you know, they'd dwell into my past. They'd try to find out why I was like this. Is my family members? Is it something that happened to me as a child? And all this unnecessary like dwelling, just, if anything, it made my eating disorder worse. I was just constantly, I'd go to these clinics and all my focus was within an eating disorder. My focus was with my sickness. My focus was dwelling with why I am like this. And that is not how I recovered from my eating disorder. I purely recovered with like switching my focus, focusing on what I wanted out of life. I wanted health. I wanted to nourish myself. I wanted self-love. I wanted freedom. I wanted this job. I wanted like friendships. And I started to actually switch my focus and focus on the things that I wanted out of life rather than getting rid of my eating disorder. Because yes, your intentions may be good and you could be focusing on getting rid of something, but there's your focus. You're focusing on the disorder. You're focusing on getting rid of that disorder. So that is exactly what you will create. That is exactly what you'll get back, is what you're focusing on, the disorder. So as soon as I started to switch my focus and start to just be more conscious and aware of what I'm feeling right now, the thoughts that I have created, the thoughts that I'm dwelling in, and I started to actually kind of like switch my my thoughts. So I'd have my ego thoughts, and then I'd have my thoughts. And the ego thoughts were what someone would relate as your eating disorder thoughts. So basically, I've spoke about this in your last interview, and it was something to do with a saying that I read, and it was the more you feed the ego, the stronger the ego will get. So yes, I did relate that a lot to my eating disorder, and just being more aware of what thoughts will help you grow and what thoughts will keep you stuck. And you just need to know the ones that you feed are the ones that are obviously going to be strong, be present majority of the time. And obviously you have that choice. So you're not actually in control of your thoughts because they come and go whenever they please. What you are in control of is your emotions and your actions. So the emotions and the actions actually keep that thought active. So you do actually have a choice with your thoughts. You do have the choice to keep that thought active, to keep that thought alive. So right now you may be experiencing bad thoughts, you may be experiencing some negative thoughts towards yourself, towards food, towards your body. And yes, right now you can't really do anything, but if you don't act upon them thoughts, if you don't dwell in bad emotions with them thoughts actually die off. And that is what you need to focus on. You need to focus on doing what is going to help you in the long run and focusing on feeding the thoughts that are obviously going to help you and keep you healthy and nourish you, basically.
For sure. And touching on that, like for someone who has never become aware of their thoughts before, like has never become aware that there's two thoughts, there's the ego thoughts and then there's your thoughts, what are some ways that you started to realize that, oh, that's the ego thoughts? Like how are some ways you can identify what that is?
Okay, so my first thing is a lot of people who are going through this, they will say that my eating disorder told me to do this, my eating disorder told me to do that. They kind of relate it as another person. So I do not want you to do that, because by detaching your thoughts and making it another person, you're actually not in control of them. And I want to tell you that you are in control of them. So we have thoughts that make us feel good and thoughts that make us feel bad. So we have love and we have fear. So every thoughts that we think, whether they're sad, whether they're angry, happy, joy, gratefulness, they all feed either love or fear. And how you can tell what thoughts that you're feeling feed one another is by your emotion. So if you are feeling anxiety or anything that makes you feel uncomfortable within these thoughts, they're obviously feeding the fear. They're obviously from your ego. So if you are getting a thought that makes you feel that like hard feeling within your heart, or you feel anxiety, or you just feel stressed, or you just overwhelmed or overthinking, then that is purely, it's because it's coming from your ego. So if you feel more thoughts that are high frequency, so within the love area, so happy, joy, or whatever, they are coming from you. So number one, you do need to start to learn and detach your thoughts from you and realize what is feeding the ego and what is feeding you. And purely by doing that, it's just from your feelings. So if you feel low from your thoughts, then that is coming from your ego. If you feel high from your thoughts, then that is coming from you.
I like that perspective. And so a lot of people say that, you know, eating disorder is some type of disease that I have. So what's your thoughts on that?
It's hard because an eating disorder is a mental illness. So same with depression, same with anxiety sufferers, all of these things. I cannot say that they're not an illness. I cannot say they are an illness. The reason why, if I call them a disease, the only reason why I relate them to a disease is because I split the word. It's dis-ease. That's all it is. You do not need to label what you are. If you are dis-ease, you just need to do what you can to get back to ease. With mental illnesses, it's not like there is something wrong with you. It's just either a chemical imbalance or habitual thoughts you have created over time. So you are not born with anxiety. You're not born with depression. I find it quite funny when people actually say depression runs in my family. Like my mum, my dad had depression. That it's not a thing. You can't, like, it's not inherited. You can't be born with depression. You can't be born with anxiety. So therefore, I do not feel as though it's an illness that you have just had upon you, just wished upon you. It's something that is created over time. So when someone labels it as an illness, when someone labels you with anxiety, with you with depression, with you with anorexia, it kind of, it becomes your identity. So therefore, I remember the day that I had no idea what an eating disorder was. I remember reading something about it in a magazine, but that's about it. And I got labelled with an eating disorder by a doctor because I ticked a couple of boxes. And that day, my eating disorder got 10 times worse. Mm-hmm. And that was because I identified myself as someone who was a sufferer with an eating disorder.
Yes.
And yeah, and from then on, in a couple of months, I was admitted to hospital. Like, I just completely got worse because in my mind, I couldn't do normal things. I could not do what everyone else do. I could not actually enjoy food. I could not be normal because I had an eating disorder. I had anorexia. So if I felt as though if I started to do more normal actions, more normal habits, then I was a lie. Everything I lived was a lie. My identity was a lie because I believed I was anorexia. I believed I was the eating disorder. And that's why when people bring labels into it, it's just unnecessary. Like, you don't need to say you have depression. You don't need to say you have anxiety. You just need to be aware that you have bad thoughts, that you have sad thoughts, that you have angry thoughts. And awareness and labeling yourself are two completely different things.
Yes. Well, that's why, like, going back to the question that you asked before, with depression or eating disorders, I don't say some people who have an eating disorder, I say experience, because that creates detachment from the actual thing that most people try to identify with.
Yeah.
And I think I said this in the last one, that it is much easier to change a pattern, a habit. It's much harder to change an identity.
Yeah.
So that's why I use that language. And so what do you feel like an eating disorder actually is? What do you feel like it really is?
Well, from my personal experience, what an eating disorder is think of it as obsessive compulsive disorder. So you have created habits, you have created rules, you've created just cycles that you do like every single day, and it happens just from your thoughts. And you need to do these rules, you need to do these habits, you need to do these routines, otherwise you feel like a sense of like anxiety, otherwise you feel as though you've broken something. And that's completely all it is. And I have actually made a video about this on my channel, and a lot of people could relate with that, because they've heard all these things that an eating disorder is like this in your brain, it's this, it's that, it's all it is just habits you have created over time, and you have created comfort within these habits. And you know, everyone has their own reasons in why they feel comfortable with these habits, whether it's, you know, because they feel a sense of control, or they just feel something out of it. It doesn't really matter why you feel comfortable with these things. All you need to know is all it is habits and routines and rules you have created. And these things, they can all be broken. It's just a constant cycle, and this cycle will continue until you break it. And by breaking it, you just need to feed the ego less.
For sure. So, touching on that, well, first off, what's that YouTube video called? I'll leave a link down below. Like, you can just tell me later what it is.
Okay.
Sure.
So with this video, it's actually called I think it's How Law of Attraction Saved My Life from Anorexia Nervosa, and it's just basically me talking about my experiences with law of attraction and how I use law of attraction to help me recover with from anorexia nervosa. And it just comes back down to our focus, and that is really what law of attraction is all about, is your focus and what you're focusing on. And with law of attraction, I started, instead of focusing on so much of my eating disorder, focusing on recovering, focusing on the illness, I started to focus on what I wanted out of life. I made vision boards, I journaled daily, I did things to attract health. I did things to attract my life that I have right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this whole video, like, this whole topic is very passionate towards me, because it changed my life going from one extent to the other. And I know how draining it can be. Like, it can be so mentally draining with an eating disorder, and I know it can just take over every aspect of your life, and I know how amazing it can be on the other end. So that is why I am so passionate about this, and I try my best to get the word across as much as possible, because not only do I want people to get better, I want to like help people not get in their position in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is basically why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Cool. And before we talk about like how people can overcome this, how do you feel like it actually comes up? Like, how do you feel like somebody actually starts creating these eating disorder symptoms, apart from the ego?
It is hard because, you know, like I said, if you go to counselors, they, you know, dwell into your past, they try to figure out why you have done this. Everyone has their own individual reasons, whether it's they want to feel that sense of control, or they want to impress someone, or really majority of the time it happens because people try to get healthy. People go on a diet, people, you know, they see these things in a magazine, and by all these influencers they get told to go on diets, that skinny is what's in, rah rah rah, and they get just like fed all this unnecessary bullshit, and they try to become healthy, they try to go on a diet, but because they have little to no like knowledge towards what like actual health is, majority of younger girls, they think for you to go healthy, for you to start to get fit, you have to limit your intake on food, you have to do a lot of exercise. So that's what happened to me. I tried to get healthy, I tried to get fit, but I had no knowledge towards it, and I didn't really know what I should be eating, how much I should be eating, especially for the amount of training I was doing. You know, I wanted to get fit, so I started training twice a day, and little did I know that was actually decreasing me from my goals. And with my diet, I started to limit the main macronutrients that I needed. I didn't have any protein, I was having little to no carbs, hardly any fat whatsoever. I was completely afraid of fat, because it was just, I would read these magazines and they'd say fat would make you fat, or I would just read these things on Instagram, and it was just completely making my thoughts go wild. It was just making me believe I had to do these things to become fit, to become healthy. And then that's how it starts off. It starts off as a simple diet, but because you have lack of knowledge towards actual health, you start to limit your food, you start to limit your intake, because that's what you think you have to do in order to be healthy. And then that's just basically how it starts. You start to create these habits around food, you start to create these routines, you don't want to eat more than you did yesterday, because that is your new routine, that is your new rule. And it's just really, you need to, one, not create that unhealthy cycle, and two, actually educate yourself with the importance of nutrition and educate yourself with how much your body needs daily, and the importance of like nutrition and macronutrients and healing your body and nourishing your body. So the importance of food, really.
And where do you, because there's like millions of resources and YouTube videos and blog posts of like how to get healthy, this is the best food to eat.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of go, okay, I like this person, I trust this person, or I trust this information? Like where do you go to, or like how do you identify like trustworthy sources of information?
Yeah, no, perfect. So basically there's so many, there's models, there's so many like nutritionists, there's so many health fitness pages. And what I like is I always look for when I'm going across fitness pages and I'm trying to find people to relate with or find idols to follow by, I see what their main focus is, whether it's calories or nutrition, because essentially our focus needs to be on the nourishment that food is giving us. So when people are so focused within calories, focused within like, you know, limiting and calorie restriction, I just know that obviously they're uneducated within their self. They shouldn't be promoting what they're promoting, because health is all about nourishing your body. You know, being the healthy that you can be, it's all about balance. It's about finding what works for you. So really, like, yes, you should find people who inspire you, but you really need to be, the reason why you should be educating yourself is to find what works for you. Because there's no point in following someone else's lifestyle, someone else's diet, because that is obviously what works for them. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So it's all about finding what's going to work for you. And I live by the word balance. So balance is key to everything, whether that is diet, whether that is lifestyle, and just overall eating an abundance of good foods that are going to nourish you, but also feeding your soul. Feeding yourself with foods that you love, doing exercise that you like doing, not forcing yourself to do cardio or weights just because someone on Instagram does it. Just finding what works for you and incorporating balance in everything within your whole entire lifestyle.
For sure. So let's get into like, how does someone overcome? We've talked about the root causes, we've talked about the ego.
Yeah.
How does someone actually start overcoming this, whether that be through psychological tools or resources or training or nutrition? Like, what do you feel like is the essential steps?
Okay, so obviously everyone's recovery is different and what has helped them is different, but from my experience and my experience with others that I am helping through my journey, it all comes down to creating a lifestyle that is going to work for you. So creating, you know, switching your focus. Instead of focusing on calories, start to focus on actually healing your body. Focus on creating a healthy and happy lifestyle, and by doing that through foods, by doing that through fitness, whatever you want to do, and just basically, like I said, switching your focus and also becoming more aware of your thoughts, because like I said, that's all an eating disorder is your thoughts. You're afraid of your thoughts, okay? This thing that controls you is just your thoughts. So when I started my like journey for recovery, I started to journal daily. I would write down the thoughts that I was thinking and how it made me feel, and I just wanted to become really in tune with who I was and what I was thinking, because like I was just telling Matt before, I was constantly on the go. When I was sick, I needed to be busy 24/7. I needed to be around people. I needed to keep myself occupied all the time. And Matt said, was that because you're afraid of your thoughts? And I said, yes. And what helped me to become more okay with my thoughts was to literally force being alone upon myself. I had to be alone. I had to start meditating. I had to journal. I had to do things that made me become more aware of what I was thinking. And I started to actually detach my thoughts and realize just because I was thinking these thoughts does not mean they're true. Okay, I was thinking thoughts and that was okay. Doesn't mean it was wrong, doesn't mean it was right. I was just thinking thoughts. And as soon as I started to, yes, my ego would occur and I would think bad thoughts. But if I did not give them energy, if I did not act upon them, if I just let them be, soon enough they started to fade away, and it got me to a point where I don't actually even create them thoughts anymore. And it's because I gave them no energy. And yes, them thoughts, as much as they suck at that present moment, and especially if you go against your ego thoughts, yes, it can be hard at that moment. It can cause you a lot of anxiety. It can cause you somewhat really sad thoughts. But I promise you, the more you don't act upon them and the less you feed them, the less them thoughts will be there. So you just need to focus on that. Rather than focusing on how hard it is to not give in to them bad thoughts, you need to focus on getting rid of them thoughts and focus on creating health, focus on nourishing yourself, and focus on feeding love, the high frequency thoughts.
For sure. And so you've now turned your struggle into a coaching program now where you're actually helping people through individual, I don't know if it's group, but like we'll talk about it in a second. But you're doing that now. So tell people about it. Like, why did you do this and what is it all about?
Okay, so basically I run a online self-healing program, so that is one-on-one coaching, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I know what it's like to be in that exact position, and I know that there is little to no help out there, and the help that is out there is actually fucking ridiculous. It is ridiculous, because I would go to counselors, I went to so many doctors, I went to so many clinics, psychologists, and with the psychologists, they were good, but they were so unaware of what an eating disorder is. So sometimes they would say things, but it would actually make me feel worse, and it would trigger my mindset. With the doctors, they had no idea what they were talking about. Some guy told me to go on a liquid diet. Like, it's just ridiculous. So doctors and a lot of clinics, they don't actually get what you're going through purely because they have not gone through it themselves. So I just know within this area, the best way to coach someone is from your own knowledge you have created from your own experience. So basically that is what I'm doing. I'm doing one-on-one coaching with girls from all over the world, and I coach them on a regular basis every single day, and we have weekly calls, and it's just basically I have like weekly guides for them and weekly topics that we talk about, and it's just making them aware of what their eating disorder is, and I give them strategies, and I have like little checklists for them throughout that week that we create together within our call that they need to achieve that week. And it's just I'm working with them as an individual to try and find what is going to work for them, because what is going to work for someone else may not work for this girl here. So I need to find what is going to work for them. So hence why I need to work one-on-one with them and do weekly calls and get to know who they are as a person, get to know their lifestyle, get to know basically the thoughts they're creating and what they're afraid of. And by doing that, it is going to help them on their journey. I'm aware of what is going to help them, and the thoughts that they're going to create is going to help them, and the thoughts that they are creating that isn't going to help them. So basically it's just a journey I am on with these girls. I am helping them through their journey. I am starting their recovery, and that is what my self-healing program is all about, basically.
For sure.
Yeah, so if anyone here wants to know more about my self-healing program, I will get Matt to actually pop my self-healing program Instagram up here.
Somewhere.
And then
down
my
below.
website, my website in the description below.
For sure. Cool. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to add? Any last final thoughts?
No, I think we're all good. I think we got it all.
Cool. So I'll leave Christie's website down below to a self-healing program. So if you are going through, you're experiencing an eating disorder, I'll leave it down below. Check it out. You can learn more about it, and then you can see how you can join as well. And I'll leave her YouTube channel down below. So check out her videos. Please stop making that face.
Thank you.
But other than that, leave a comment down below. Let us know if you got some
feedback,
tips. Give us some feedback.
Oh shit. Oh.
And until we see you guys in the very next video, remember to love all living things. And most importantly, do you know what I say? Because I don't even know if you watch the end of my videos, do you?
Most importantly, subscribe and like.
I don't... Do you really not know what I said at the end?
No, what do you say? No, tell me.
You're a terrible
no,
friend.
No, what do you say?
Love.
And to love all living beings. Bye.
We're just gonna end right there.